once in a while, before we even hit record, we already know it's going to be a crazy episode. Today is one of those days. If you look to my left, to my right, I got some heavy hitters on the landscape. So welcome to the YAAACE Time Podcast. Again, season 2, we back at it. Right off the jump, I'll let everybody just kind of introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. Shane, why don't you kick it off for us?
First off, thanks for having us on. Big up all the guys from YAAACE, Jordan, Jones, Zane. We've been looking forward to this for a while now. I'm Shane James. Grew up in Scarborough. Went to Milliken Mills in Markham for high school. Actually played for this guy here, Chris Skinner, where I learned a whole lot before going into college. But I played for our provincial team in 2001, won a gold medal out in Vancouver. From there, I made the junior national team, where I was named team captain. Played for 4 years, led the team in scoring for 2. And then I got a scholarship to go to Loyola, Maryland, where I played in the MAC for 4 years. First team all-rookie, and I was honorable mention Defensive Player of the Year my senior year.
Okay.
Graduated from there with a BBA in marketing, and then I made the jump over to Europe. I had a daughter my senior year, so it was tough, going to Europe and playing my first year, having a newborn, but we made it work with Skype back then. So we did a lot of Skype. So I played in Europe for about 3 years, got hurt my third year, and then decided to go back to school for my second degree, and I became a teacher.
Okay.
And then I was hired right away after that, and, the rest is history.
Okay, dope. Skinner?
Yeah, thanks again, guys, YAAACE, for putting this all together. Just the family, us YAAACE, being together since 2012 has been a special unit for us. We have done a lot of things over the years, so I credit our partnership, and I think that's led basketball in the right direction in Ontario. My name is Chris Skinner, as you guys know. Been around, this is year 27 at the basketball high school level. Played probably for 6 years because I didn't start playing basketball until I was 14. Played hockey full-time, soccer full-time, played at a high level. Kind of brought those kind of intricacies of hockey and soccer to the basketball world because there was a gap. As you guys know, when you moved to the suburbs, most of the places didn't have rims. You had to travel to the city back to play ball. Yeah. That's kind of what I faced in the 90s. So did a year at Seneca College after my high school year because wasn't really getting the real guidance in high school. It was all over the place. Came back to Milliken just to do a scrimmage. Next thing I'm scrimmaging against Shane and Corey and Arnell and Donovan Gale, God bless his soul, and go back into the office and speak to Chris Sorrells, who was my high school coach, and he was the VP at Milliken at the time, and said, "You got this talented group inside the gym. How are you guys doing this year?" And he's like, "Those lazy mother." And I was like, "No way. What are you talking about?" He's like, those kids are grade 10 and 11. I'm like, "There's no way." I walk him out of the office, point into the gym, and he's like, "Yeah, those lazy motherfuckers. You need to coach them." And next thing you know, I'm coming back 2 weeks later just to work out. He tells me to come back a week later for playoffs. They're playing senior ball as grade 10s and 11s. And next thing you know, they win a quarterfinal games. He invites me out to semifinals. He tells me to sit on the bench. I'm like, "No, I'm going to sit at the end line and just scream on the defensive end." And next thing you know, they beat Markham, where had Oliver Prince, Chris Krause, Eugene, Mike Tuck, who he ended up playing with at Loyola, Maryland. They end up beating them by like 5. It was a big game. Next thing you know, we go to they play York Region Finals against Huron Heights, a bunch of fifth-year kids, and they end up winning the finals by 20. Next thing you know, we're going also a week later. If you know the history of Toronto ball, there used to be 6-year players. That changed that year. So Bathurst couldn't bring their 6-year guys. So Bathurst came with Denham Brown, Andrew Carpenter, Shane Morrison, his younger brother. bunch of grade 11. So it was a grade 11 game at Asa, back and forth. We ended up losing the game by 7 because Shane didn't shoot the ball. But we end up, next thing you know, we go home after that game, and we're hearing that Bathurst win by 30 in the quarters, 35 in the semis, and won the finals by 40 against a bunch of fifth-year guys. So that following year, as you would assume is that we were the top-ranked team. We were like number 3. Bathurst was 1, and that was a thing all season. We ended up playing Bathurst later on. They ended up beating us up, but it was a great season. But that kind of launched basketball in Markham for forever. And we're here today, and we kind of, like Shane said, I see some other kids through. I end up going back working on the highways. He decided to come back. Myself, Xavier, Jamino all decided, and JR decided we were going to do triple balance because I knew something was there. And next thing you know, we're sitting in the office with you guys, and we're together. And that's how Canada Elite was formed.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to jump right into that next. I'll jump over to you, Jordan.
Yeah, so
same thing.
You know, I've been on the podcast before.
Yeah.
I guess some of the viewers kind of know my story.
Yeah, we can remind them.
But yeah, I'm Jordan McFarlane. I'm the Director of Athletics and Wellness and Expanded Opportunities at YAAACE. I'm also one of the founding members of Canada Elite. Been at this basketball thing since I can remember. My first love was baseball. Grew up in the Jane and Finch area playing baseball. Hard enough to believe. And then Michael Jordan happened. Like Mike, Air Jordans, I just fell in love with that whole concept.
Yeah, the greatest.
Yeah.
the greatest.
So I just switched lanes, basketball, everything. Been playing basketball ever since, but my journey with actually being an athlete to the sport ended in my 5th year of high school. I went to C.W. Jeffries.
Okay.
And during my 5th year, the administration there asked me to coach the girls team, right? Never coached before, I just always played. So that kind of launched my career. I developed a passion for it, and I quickly figured out that I was a better coach than I was a player. So after that, I started coaching around the community, Oakdale Community Center, running Raptor Ball programs, ran into Mr. Jones. Together, I was kind of not supplying, but, you know, through my Raptor Ball program, getting players to play for his Scarborough Blues team because he was coaching the second team. And then a year after that, he came up with the concept of creating YAAACE, Youth Association for Academics, Athletics, and Character Education. So we started with like 30 teams, girls and boys. Started off with a bang out of nowhere. People didn't see us coming. And yeah, that kind of launched my coaching journey, so to speak. But the relationship that's been formed between us and Triple Balance really created such a wonderful, I guess, platform in Ontario for basketball. I think it kind of really, you know, it's risen the level of competition, and it's also been able to provide more success stories, more talent for kids going and playing post-secondary sports, kids getting into being professional athletes, whether it's out in Europe, overseas, or, you know, becoming an actual NBA player. I think we've done a lot for the landscape, and it just goes to show you, you know, if we work together, we can achieve more, right? And I think we all need to be, you know, thinking along those lines, you know what I mean, instead of like a, you know, crabs in the bucket mentality.
Right.
But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
Cool. Brian, same question.
Well, first off, appreciate you for having me. You know, appreciate being, you know, in this company. You know, I kind of started off, you know, a lot later than you guys, right? Like, you guys have a lot more skin in the game than I do. But, you know, it's great to be here and, you know, get involved with this because, you know, for me, it's, you know, basketball is something that, you know, I've had a lifelong passion for. And, you know, my older brother kind of put the ball in my hands when I was younger. And from there, you know, I developed the love of the game, but I never really got involved with programs like the stuff that we have going on now. For me, it was just kind of, you know, you go outside and you play with whoever's there. And,
Right.
you know, if they're good, they're good. If they're not, they're not. And that was pretty much it, right? So that was all my summers were that, right? So, you know, growing up, and I always had the itch to like teach. But I knew I wasn't really a classroom guy, but basketball was a passion. So I put two and two together, and now here I am now with the BOA. I'm sure most people know that I'm the director of the BOA, Brian Owusu Academy. I was able to start that in around 2018, 2019. I had some kids that were just, very passionate about the game, just like I was. Parents that were passionate about the game, just like I was. And from there, we were just able to, develop something special. And we kind of hit the ground running. And, from there is just, continuing to put that formula forward. We have a lot of age groups now. So guys have seen the growth. Guys have seen kind of where we came from, right? Kind of really got it out the mud, right? Look, we didn't really have, any type of super backing to begin with. But, with that being said, it's just, again, it's very special just to be here. So, I'm happy to be in this situation with you guys. And, I'm looking forward to, listening and learning and, continuing to push basketball forward in Canada, because to me, that's what it's all about.
Dope.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Shane, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the Canada Elite origin story. So, who were the original founders? When did it come together? What was the original goal behind it? What was the vision?
Yeah, I mean, we had two programs, one in the east end of the city, and one in the west. And if I recall, Chris Skinner, who was one of our directors and founders of Triple Balance Community Services, was reffing a game with one of the YAAACE directors at the time, Corey Niles. And the two of them had a conversation because we had some talent.
Yeah.
At the time, I believe we had Nikhil Alexander Walker. He was kind of just, scratching the surface of being an elite athlete at the time. And I think YAAACE had Justin Jackson. So the two of them had a meeting and then brought everyone to the table. Myself, JR, Jamino, X, along with Jordan Jones and Corey Niles. And then we created an organization called the Association.
That's right.
I still have the hoodie.
I should have brought that.
Yeah.
So before Canada Elite, it was called the Association. I'm not sure who came up with the name. It was probably Jones.
Yeah.
Or Jordan. Jordan's the creative guy. But I thought it was a pretty cool name. It was scary. People were scared of us. That was the whole point of it. But we wore black. We showed up to the gyms and, we were like the new guys on the block kind of thing. At the time, CIA Bounce was the big name.
Yep.
Mike George, Tony McIntyre, those guys were involved with the program at the time. But, from the jump, we were able to make a splash in the AAU scene here in Toronto and find success in the States, especially with the talent that we had in those two classes. I think it was 2016 and 2017. And we were quickly able to get the sponsorship from Under Armour. So we were one of the original programs in the UAA. I think there's still 3 others that are around. And we're going into our 11th year. So we're excited about that. But that's kind of how it all came together. Just having 2 programs in different parts of our city and bridging a gap and bringing it together.
Yeah. And that's grown now, right? We've invited, there's new teams that have joined. You want to, maybe Skinner, you could talk about the teams that are a part of the Canada Elite family.
Yeah, when we first originally started, we started off with Triple Balance in YAAACE. And then shortly, I would say, probably right after the year after that, we brought in Team Breakdown. We created CYBL because we needed a platform for our kids to play on, because all of our kids didn't want to go back to the programs, to be quite honest. Right after 2 summers with us, the parents were in love.
Yeah.
So we had a great synergy with Team Breakdown. They were kind of in the midst of battling all the Brampton programs, especially Brampton Warriors at the time. And they came on board. That was great synergy because kids like Baraka, OC, tons of kids came from that program throughout the Canada Elite years too.
The Kalambe brothers.
The Kalambe brothers. The list goes on when it comes to Team Breakdown. So they have always done a good job. And then we merged with Milton Stags for quite a while because of Brian. His son played for us. He's moved on to create MOBA now. But our relationship's been pretty tight, right? Whoever's come on board has basically stayed with us the whole time. They have built their programs up throughout the way. And that's what it's about, right? It's about keeping your retention, building up the kids, because when they're jumping around, they're not developing. They think they are, but they're not.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So, and that was a important piece for our growth, was the feeder programs and keeping the kids. And we're seeing it now. Like, a lot of the top kids right now, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, came from one of the programs, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, with respect to team breakdown, Lloyd Dixon, Kevin Cox, Keston Simpson, those guys out in Brampton have done a phenomenal job building that program, and it's still in existence. And then Brian Brathwaite, I saw Jordan Brathwaite coaching on the weekend. So he's one of our guys that is now giving back, right? He graduated from Dalhousie, and now he's coaching, and he's doing a great job with his new program. What's the name of it again?
MOBA.
Yeah. So they're out in Milton. So he's doing a good job there. But you see, like, after we started creating affiliates under the Canada Elite umbrella, a lot of programs are now doing the same thing. Just because, you know, it's very watered down. It's become watered down. And in order to, you know, strengthen your roster, strengthen your program, and compete in the U.S., people got to come together and create stronger teams. So you're seeing that across the board now. A lot of teams are doing that.
And the biggest thing for me with the YAAACE and Triple Balance merger back in 2012, unfortunately, I've had some people pass away through murder. So getting the kids to interact with each other from east to west was very important for me. Very important. And I see that now, because I don't think any of the YAAACE kids or Triple Balance kids have beef. I see that they all get along. They all respond to each other. If there's any violence in the city, it's not amongst our kids, right? So that's been positive, and that's why I encourage other people to work with each other, because it actually helps our youth.
Yeah, create those relationships.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the fact that we have Brian sitting over here as well, I think it's safe to assume as a viewer that we're officially welcome Brian into the family as well.
Yes, indeed.
So,
yes,
yeah,
sir.
welcome. Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
What was the driving force for you? What made you look at this and be like, yeah, I want to be a part of that?
Well, I mean, you can just listen to how these guys speak about the program and how it came to be, and you can know that, you know, this is the right energy to have, right? Like, I've had success on my own, a lot of success, especially really early. I've gone to the States, you know, and I'm a guy that I don't want to be the smartest in the room, right? I want to listen, I want to learn. So I'm asking people, even in the States, like, you know, how do you guys do it? Like, what's the secret? And they say, hey, you Canadians, for whatever reason, want to try and do everything you guys yourself, whereas us, like, we come together and we work together, right? Like, there's obviously they have a way bigger population, so it's a little bit easier for them to do it, because it's like they almost have to because of the amount of people and the amount of space. But it's the same thing here, right? Like, a lot of people want to try and just do it on their own. But truth is, if you want to go anywhere far, you got to go together. And truth is, you'll probably get there a lot faster too, right? So, you know, and for me, again, just knowing each person, even here individually, right, all the way down, just naturally great energy, great vibes, right? Like, I didn't even know that, you had a podcast like this in a studio like this. I didn't even know that you've been in the game for 30 years. I didn't know that you had, the resume that you had, or that Jordan has. But just naturally, we just gravitated towards each other. So that just lets me know that, on top of that, now these guys do have, the resumes they have and the opportunities and the resources and everything. So I'm like, it just makes sense, right? Like, it just goes together. Yeah. So for me, it's like even between us, right? Like, I had a couple meetings with you guys already, and just even then, just throwing ideas out there, and right away it's just boom, they're almost coming to life immediately. Yeah. And I'm like, that right there is almost like a dream come true. Like, you know what I mean? So for me, it's like, this is where it's got. I can see where it was going. I can see where it's coming from. And I'm like, this is something I got to be a part of, especially, pushing Canada basketball forward, right? To me, that's always been a big thing, right? As much as we compete with each other and all that stuff, it's iron sharpening iron. That's, to me, what it is, right? Because at the end of the day, we're still competing with those Americans, right? The Americans have all the opportunities and everything, and they're born with a light at the end of the tunnel. We had to create a light at the end of the tunnel, right? So for us, it's like, we got to come together. We got to make it work. I don't want kids to have to go over there, right? Like if you want to, cool, but you want it to be where you can even be here, start to finish, and you can go as far as you want to go, right? But that can't happen if Shane's doing his own thing, or Chris is doing his own thing, or Jordan's doing his own. But if we come together, we can make this stuff happen, right? Yeah. So for me, there's strength in numbers, right? So and I'm always been a team guy. That's why I've gravitated towards basketball. So it makes sense.
No, I like that. If you want to go far, go together. It absolutely makes sense. Now, Jordan, for you, what has been a benefit of this partnership with Canada Elite that you've seen specifically for YAAACE?
I mean, the platform, like just in general, like first and foremost, the platform, the opportunity for our kids to play on a platform in which can expose them to college coaches at every level, and just overall expose them to a life that they've never seen before. A lot of the kids that we work with here in the Jane and Finch corridor, they don't have passports. They've never been on a plane. They don't leave the province, right? So for me to be able to say, all right, this group of, 8 to 12 kids, we're going to Ohio, we're going to Atlanta, that's enough to even change the life of one of them. Now we're talking about life here. It's not even basketball. So just being able to provide an opportunity like that for a kid around the way that probably doesn't even know whether he's going to eat lunch today or have to ask for, lunch money from one of his brethren to eat. Now I can tell him we're going, we're going to Detroit to go play in a basketball game, right? That on its own has been beneficial, but I think we have mutual respect for one another, and it works because I know that through the collaboration, even with the new addition of Brian, like it's basketball minds. Like I know the work that Skinner does in the gym. Yeah, I know the work that Shane does in the gym. I've seen the work and the product that Brian has produced. So it helps to be on a team like that because, we all have kids, and especially our own kids. If I need to leave my kid in the gym to do a workout, like, look at this roster. I can't go wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just to have someone like even Shane. Shane doesn't have to be in the gym. Shane, he's Calgary Surge stuff. But a few nights ago, I'm running practice, and Shane's in the gym, running suicides with the kids, doing the drills. That's something that it's priceless. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just to know that we have guys on the team that will, dedicate themselves to the business side of it, the administrative side, but will also get their hands dirty and get in there and train your kid. I know development-wise, we're top-notch. Obviously, there's recruiting involved when it comes to elite level basketball. But at the end of the day, if we had our choice and it was our way in a perfect world, we can get a kid and work with the kid until we send them off. They're good. They become successful. They come back and give back to the community. We'd rather develop than recruit, but we know the landscape requires us now to do some recruiting. But with this group of guys, I know we can take, a shrub or a weed in the grass and turn it into a flower if we need to. You know what I mean? So that's what's most beneficial. And then for me personally, it's helped me grow as a coach. It's helped me grow as a person. I am one of these Jane and Finch kids. Right. Yeah. I am that kid that would fight you if you stepped on my shoes. But it's allowed me to grow and mature into a man and learn how to persevere. You know what I mean? And handle certain situations. Because now I'm responsible for, 12, 13 kids at a time when I go on the road. So I can't act like a kid anymore, right? So
and they're all looking up at you to see what you're going to do. You're setting the example,
Exactly. So, no, it's been extremely beneficial. I continue to grow as a person. But just being able to sponge off of, every adult, each one of these men, I've been able to sponge off of Skinner's clipboard game, right? I've been stealing stuff, by the way, Skinner.
Yeah, no worries. It's
know
all
what I'm
good.
saying?
Everybody's stealing. Everybody's stealing.
I've been able to sponge off of Shane when he's in the gym and he has certain drills that he does. I'm looking at it like, why is he doing that?
Yeah.
I'll take it home, I'll study it, and I'm stealing off of him.
Yeah, I just took your new shooting drill, what you did on Wednesday.
Oh yeah,
on
you see?
Monday. On
You see
Monday.
what I'm saying?
was a
I
nice drill
admire.
still.
Yeah, I used it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, right away.
I admire the fact that when you play a BOA team, they're gonna shoot your ass out the gym.
Yeah.
So now it allowed me to say, my kids need to be getting up some more shots. There's no way your kids shoot that much and you ain't shooting in
Come on, you know it.
practice,
Come on.
right? So it's just being able to pull together and create something special for the kids that need it the most. I think that's what's been, the most beneficial part of being a part of this union,
You touched on something there, the basketball landscape. And all of you played high school basketball in the city, right? How would you say the culture of high school basketball or not youth basketball, let's say high school, even below that, how would you say the culture has changed from when you guys played? Now, Brian, I know you played a lot sooner than these guys.
Yeah.
But how would you say the landscape has shifted a little bit in terms of culture specifically?
Well, for high school, it's almost completely different now, right? Like I know, like Skinner had mentioned, OFSA, like that's almost obsolete at this point, right? Like now it's completely prep. Like if you're not playing prep, it's almost like like what are you even doing, right? So right there, that's a huge difference, right? Like me growing up, you had to be like a top guy to get to some American prep school or something like that, and I was probably in grade 12 or you know what I mean, like your extra year or something like that. Then I started to see, I was like, okay, like even the average kid is kind of going over there. But now that in Canada, we've kind of created the, the prep scene. Again, like the prep is the new, OFSA, if you want to call it that, right? So that is definitely, a big change that I've seen. And then obviously, like just even in the club realm, there's just so many more, programs and leagues and stuff like that, right? Like when I was growing up, I would have died to have been in the CYBL, you know what I mean? Like that's like almost like a junior NBA to me at that age, at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. But all I had was just, going outside, you know what I mean? So, and then even just, being a part of a program that could take me to a league like that. Back then it was maybe 6 programs, right? You have a Mississauga program, a Brampton program, a Scarborough program. So there's like 8 teams or 8 programs, and if you didn't make it, you didn't make it. Now it's every corner you turn, there's a new team, right? So it's like, it is I don't want to say oversaturated, but at the same time, it's a lot of opportunities for these kids, right? So, I do like that about it. But yeah, for sure, the landscape has definitely changed in that sense, right? Like it's just basketball's grown so much in Canada, right? Like it's like Jordan was talking about, Michael Jordan hit, boom, things change. Well, the Raptors won, things change, right? Like there's a considerable boom in basketball, and especially in the GTA, right? So that has definitely been a big change, right? A big difference in the landscape.
Yeah, even before the championship, a lot of current Canadian NBA players will point to Vince Carter, right? And that Vince Carter era, that was the catalyst for them.
Yeah, I remember sitting in the Sprite zones.
Yeah,
buy those tickets at HMV for $12. First year I
remember that.
I watched like 15 of those games, and then I ended up watching a game in the Sprite Zone, and it ended up costing me $200 just to sit in the same area where it was $12.
Oh, now,
15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So that was Vince Carter era was one of the best eras of all time. When he was at North Carolina and he did that reverse dunk. And then remember, Jameson was the best player on that team. And then we drafted Jameson. That day at draft day, and I must have threw whatever I had in my hand, I must have threw it at the TV. I'm like, we didn't draft Carter at the 5th spot. We ended up driving Jameson, and then Golden State took Jameson. And then literally about 20 minutes later, ding, 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 that NBA trade noise came up. Oh, we have a trade with Golden State and Toronto. I was the happiest man. So, and as you see, Vince Carter has done worlds for us, right? Unfortunately, him and Tracy McGrady never stayed together to win all those championships. I thought they were probably the best duo since Scottie Pippen and Mike. But I think I'm gonna call the first new duo right now. It's gonna be Shea and Jay Williams. Okay, they're gonna win the next couple championships, about 4 or 5. and they're gonna make their name for themselves, right? So some Toronto guys, right?
Yeah,
So,
Not bad.
yeah, Toronto guys, right?
Okay.
So, right, and Santa Clara, that's close to our heart because he played with Yosef at Santa Clara's, Jalen Wells. So I saw him there for the first time, and I was like, yo, I like that guy.
Yeah.
And just to see where he is today, I'm pretty happy that I called that a couple years ago. So we'll see how the rest of their future pans out.
Yeah. Okay, Shane. Anything else to add on to that?
Well, with respect to the culture
Culture.
and the dynamic changing in our country, the game has grown, considerably. Even I'm involved with the CEBL. Like now, there's opportunities for these young kids to watch, Canadian pros play in their home cities.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Here specifically in Ontario, we got Ottawa, you got Niagara, you got Scarborough, Brampton.
Mm-hmm.
And these teams there's some talented players playing on these teams, and the CEBL has done a tremendous job marketing the players, marketing the league.
Right.
If you look at their social media, it's close to, if not better than what the NBA does.
Mm-hmm.
And there's players who use the league as a platform to make the jump and get, E10s, two ways, even full contracts.
So there has been players that have gone up from the CEBL into the NBA.
Yeah. Most recently, we had a guy in Calgary, Kyler Kelly. He's a big 7-footer. Went to Oregon State. He just got signed with the Dallas Mavericks.
Nice.
So and he's a guy. He was a backup in Calgary for us.
Really?
He probably played 15 minutes a game, but super athletic, rim protector.
And the height,
lob threat.
You can't teach the height.
That. Yeah, and he started a game last week with the Mavs.
Really?
Started.
So he went from your Calgary backup to starting in the NBA.
Starting in the NBA.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Some other guys like AJ Lawson. He played for us in Guelph before our team moved to Calgary, and he got a 2-way contract. Lindell Wigginton, there's another one. He's played NBA games with the Bucks, right? So, the league continues to get better. It continues to expand too. Most of the teams were publicly owned. Now, there's majority are privately owned, which means there's some high level people who own some of these franchises that are really invested, in Canadian basketball. The arenas are packed. The games are fun, and it's just going to continue to grow. So kids from a young age, they could see themselves in one of those uniforms for playing for one of these franchises.
It's attainable.
Yeah. So they have the NCAA now. Obviously, the NBA, we have the second most players. Canada has the most outside of the U.S. playing in the NBA.
Right.
And then U Sports. U Sports is good now. Like, it's competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? And CEBL, we're allowed to draft 3 U Sport players every year. So those players get to come and play with pros for the summer and then take that experience and bring it back, to their universities, which is great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, kids are exposed to so much more now, and the game just continues to grow. And it's good to see.
What would you say kids need nowadays in their game that wasn't as crucial when you guys were coming up? Maybe we'll start with you, Jordan.
The versatility.
Yeah.
Versatility. I mean, back in the day, basketball was more of a positional game, and it kind of still is. But when you're thinking about, the point guard all the way to the 4, at least, you have to have all the same skills. It's just maybe a difference in size, but you have to be able to pass, dribble, shoot, create a play, and play defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Even your 5s nowadays, you're
that too.
Your center's got to be able to shoot 3s.
Yeah, they got to be able to shoot 3s. They got to rim run. They got to protect the basket.
Yeah.
They got to be able to put the ball on the floor for at least one bounce and create something. Back in the day, that wasn't the case, right? You had, you had a role. You had a Shaq. You know what I mean, in the paint. So he didn't need to know how to dribble and stuff like that. I think versatility, being versatile would be my answer. And just, you have to understand the nature of competition now, because like we just said, there's a lot more kids playing basketball. There's only 400 jobs in the NBA, and you got your stuff overseas, but I mean, you've really got to be more focused at your craft now more than ever, because there were a lot less kids back in the day competing for the same thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, I mean, however, there's a lot more opportunity. There's a lot more access. Kids nowadays have personal trainers. Back in our day, I barely played on hardwood. I was playing on concrete. You know what I mean?
Personal trainers in grade 4.
Yeah, you got personal trainers in grade 4
grade
now.
1.
Strength and conditioning.
Strength and conditioning
At
coaches.
10 years old.
Right?
Yeah.
So all of that feeds into, okay, you have to be a little bit more dedicated to the next man, because if you have a grade 1 with a strength and conditioning coach, you can't just rely on your 2 practices a week with your club team and then just go home and be a regular kid.
You got to do the extra work.
You got to do the extra work. You got to be
sure.
on it. You know what I mean? So I think that's what has changed, man. It's
Yeah.
people
It revolved in analytics.
yeah,
Came involved.
It's the
Right?
analytics.
So
yeah.
stats came involved in the basketball. As you know, the NBA has sports code and synergy and all that stuff now, right? So the kids are learning the game at a rapid pace. I could pull a film for my guys anytime, right? So that stuff has revolved the game so much right now, right? So, and that's why guys are shooting threes, because stats tell you that, right? So we've been playing that way. I've been playing layups and three-point shots since high school because my coach was on that. So that philosophy has been something not everybody has adapted to it, but now you see everybody's playing the same way. NBA, college, college is still a little bit traditional. They dump the ball in the post. We like to dump the ball in the post because in and out threes are big, right? That's also a higher percentage than just catching, shooting it from the side to side. But the revolve of analytics has really pushed the game to another level. And if you're not really focused on that, then you're going to be left behind.
You're behind, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Brian had touched a little bit on it in your last answer where you talked a little bit about the saturation of teams. How do you guys feel about team hopping and players that feel like they got to jump around from team to team and always looking for the better? Like, how do you guys feel about that as
for
coaches?
me? I mean, it's a bit circumstantial, right? Like, it depends on what you need at the time. For me, right? I always say everybody has their own mountain to climb, right? So maybe there's a kid that he's pretty good and he trains a lot, but it's just not really translating to training. Maybe he does need to be on maybe a lower level team where he's just the guy. And the team actually needs him to be out there working on his game. Like the team is that low level, right? So for him, it might make sense for him to team hop from, one team to the other, right? Where, maybe again, another kid might be solid, but maybe for whatever reason his coach doesn't believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to, really, especially in your development stages to develop when maybe for whatever reason, right? Maybe, the coach's son is on the team or, he doesn't like your mom or dad. It could be anything. But for whatever reason, you're just not getting the opportunity you feel you would need to develop your game, right? But overall, I would say, if you find a good situation, most of the time when people think the grass is greener, it's not. It's not. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So... Yeah. And then they end up messing themselves up, right? Because, if you look at these young ages, these kids are only, 8 years old once, 10 years old once, 12 years old once. So you doing that whole, I thought the grass was greener and I went over there for 2 years and, I'm sorry I messed around. And even if you do go back to your old program, and, I'm sure most programs will take you back still. But that 2 years that you lost, you can't get that back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So that's 2 years that maybe the kids that were in the program that maybe were behind you when you left, by the time you come back, now they're ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right? And they got more momentum going forward because now you're having to almost unlearn what you learned over there to come kind of relearn where they're just right. You can't put a price on continuity, right? So for me, it's that's a big thing as far as development stages go, right? Like it's just like school. If I have a different, school and different curriculum and the way they teach every year, unless I'm just, really brilliant, it's probably going to be hard for me to learn at least to my potential. But if I'm in one school all the way through and it's, the same type of way, it's just, this grade is a little bit harder and a little more challenging, but it's the same type of system, same type of flow, same type of everything. My parents know, the 8:15 is this and 8:30 is this.
Right.
Just that continuity, that alone just helps in your development. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, short answer, I don't like it. To add on to what Brian was saying, I think it has a way of messing the kids up in terms of their basketball IQ, because he may have a different philosophy than me. I might be teaching pack line, he might be teaching something else, or you might find a coach that just Syracuse mentality, only plays zone, and then the kid comes to play for me, and I say pick up 90 feet, and he can't stay. He can't even stay with his shadow. There, there's just things that that I frown upon, not to mention the mileage we're putting on these kids.
Yeah.
Like, we have kids that are starting in our small ball programs as young as 1-2 years old.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
About 1, but 2 years. I've seen a 2-year-old.
We have 2 years old, 2-year-olds playing in our small ball programs, and they start really early into club basketball because they have the advantage of going into these foundational small ball programs.
Yeah.
And then you have, they go on club teams as early as grade 2? Some of them grade 1.
Some of them grade 2. Yeah.
And you have them playing on multiple teams for the duration of their youth until they get up to 18. What are they going to be by the time they need to get a scholarship? The amount of mileage we're putting on their legs, their joints, by the time they get to 17 years old, they're damaged goods. ACL, MCL, all of these nagging injuries that you develop with wear and tear, it's self-inflicted because they're playing on 3-4 teams per season.
Yeah.
Most of these kids nowadays are playing more than an NBA player would play per year. NBA
two times that amount.
2 times that amount. NBA players are playing, is it 81 or 82 games?
82 games.
82, yeah.
These kids are doubling that
Yeah.
because they're playing in this league, that league with different teams, right? Now, with that being said, if you're going to team hop, I think there needs to be a plan in place. And the coaches and the organizations in which the child is team hopping or bouncing back and forth with, there needs to be an aligned plan, right? So, Lil Bobby, he's weak at this and that. All right, what are the positions that are available on your team, Coach Skinner? Is Bobby going to be able to, spread his wings and play this position, right? Skinner says, I got space at that. He'll have freedom to yada, 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 and I'm going to work with him this way. Plus, I'm going to have the team that he can play on where he's still being challenged. It's going to be really competitive, and I have a platform over here for him in which he's still going to grow. Perfect. We're both aligned in our goals for the child. That's a perfect situation.
Right.
But, nowadays, that's not the case. Unfortunately, I ain't trying to disrespect no parents, but we have parents nowadays that they operate like sports agents because, they watch basketball and there's a lot more organizations out there. Different people are in their ears. They think that they need to go and dip in every pool because they feel like they're missing out on something. Newsflash, your kid is still a kid and your kid still needs time to be a kid, right? So if you have them playing 5-6 days a week, not only are you teaching entitlement, if I'm not getting it here, I'm going to go somewhere else, regardless of how it makes anybody else feel.
Yeah.
But you're not allowing them to enjoy their childhood. Let them go outside. Let them enjoy birthday parties. Let them be children, right? Those are memories they're never going to get back, right? So if they're playing on 3-4 different teams from the time they're in grade 3, you're ridding them of that. You're robbing them of that childhood. You're robbing them of childhood experiences that I know I hold on to this day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, core memories.
Do kids still go to the zoo? You know what I'm saying? Do kids still go to the zoo? No, especially the basketball players. So like, there has to be a plan. If you're going to let them team hop, I would limit the amount of teams that they play on, but there has to be a synergy between said coaches, said organization, so that we know and we could follow up on how that kid is developing.
Some sort of communication. 'Cause I've seen it myself too. A kid showing up to a game at halftime, and you're like, "What's going on?" "Oh, I had a OBA game." Like, but you had this game too, you know, and like, it's how do you guys feel about it?
I think it's situational. I'm not, like Jordan said, I'm not a fan of it. Like, but if you're like 10, 11, 12 on a team, maybe it's best for you to find another team. But if we're talking elite basketball here, let's look at all the guys who are doing it right now in the NBA. I think we have like 27 Canadians in there. You look at each one of those guys, how many teams did they play for as a kid?
Yeah, I could break them all down.
I would say majority played for 1, 2, maybe 3 teams. And I'm talking from grade 3 all the way through grade 12.
Yep.
So for those parents, they develop some consistency in that kid's life from an early age where they're familiar with the coaches, the program. Parents got to do research too. Like, look at the history of the program. Where have guys gone? Who's coaching my kid? Is it a guy who's played the game? Has he coached for however many years? How many players has this coach developed? I think those are important questions that parents they're forgetting about. They're not doing their research because you can find anything online now.
Anything online.
For
right?
Sure.
And
there's no excuse.
And Instagram and TikTok and these, this video stuff doesn't always tell the full story. You actually got to do a deep dive and find out who your kid is actually playing for. So to that point, I think every situation is different. But for, players 1, 2, 3, 4 on a roster who are playing majority of the game and they're in a good program, why do you need to team hop? And to be honest, I don't know how these parents afford flying these kids all over the place, like taking out second mortgages, and it doesn't make sense to me, right? So, but I know Chris probably got a lot to say on this topic.
So my number one philosophy, because like I told you guys at the start of this podcast, I played hockey at a high level. People would be surprised at that. I played AAA hockey. I played soccer at a high level.
Tell them what position.
I played midfield, striker. Played with Dwayne Derzero.
Yes.
We were. Those are my riding guys. Like when you guys talk about Malvern, I was Malvern. So I seen the development. I had some of the toughest coaches growing up, especially in soccer. And the one coach I had said to me, "Your best developer is your coach." And that there's nothing more true than that, because your coach is the one who's going to put you in position on the field, on the court, on the ice. So if you're going to a trainer and he's teaching you 10 multiple drills, and my philosophy is 3 dribbles, kick it and shoot the 3, we're going to have conflicts all day, every day.
Absolutely.
Right? And you're dealing with somebody who could be a great trainer, don't get me wrong, but he has to verify every trainer. That trainer is supposed to actually call your coach and say, "Coach, my Kai's playing for you. He's come to me twice a week. What does he need to work on? I'm going to come watch your game. What are you guys running?" Those are the stuff.
Yes.
And if I tell him I'm running horns, I'm running flex cut, we're doing chin cut, we're doing all the terminology what 90% of the guys don't know, right? Your kid's not going to develop. You think he's developing because he's bopping the ball in the gym, but he's not, right? And I tell parents all the time, I think when I started Triple Balance, I don't think we won games, man. We lost so many games, and now all those kids are the top kids. Vashawn, from Jordan Charles, to like I can name when we start Cassius to Shamar. All these kids are playing Division I basketball. We never won games at the start. You went in the gym and taught them how to reverse pivot. You had to teach them how to come to a 2-foot jump stop before you move on, right? And then when the philosophy comes in, because most teams pick the best athletes in grade 5, grade 6, right? Like, for example, I'm not going to name other clubs, but when they had the best kids, it's just, we roll out the best kids, but nothing's going on, right? So within 3-4 months, you're catching up to them. You're beating them by the end of the season, right? So I appreciate high school ball. Like, I jived right back into high school ball this season for the first time. and the first 3 months was rough. But right now, I see the difference in their development. Yeah. Every kid on that team's developed. We have had kids who was probably the worst kid started now because they've put the work in. They're coming to practice every day. They took Skinner's yelling, JR's yelling, X is yelling. Like, they took Oliver yelling, Godfrey's yelling, till now we're actually playing good basketball, right? And that stuff translates to the next level, right? The guys I have right now, I could guarantee you all of them are playing post-secondary ball. And they're going to be good by year 2, year 3, right? It's not just about the wins and losses. I could take a loss, right? A coach just called me the other day, said, Skinner, you got robbed the other night again. I said, yeah, I know. But I know in my heart, we won that game. The kids know that, right? And we're ready to, take on anybody the next 3 weeks. It's going to be fun. We're ready for it. And that's what development's about, right? It's about taking some losses. I think the most I've learned throughout the years is by losing, right? Like I said, we lost to 35 to Denham. I'm not ashamed to say that back in high school. But you see that loss, I think that molded us as everybody, right? Because we were like, okay, we're not the king shit. We gotta put in some work. And there's some more development needs to happen. But we're there. But we got to take the next steps, right? And when we started Triple Balance, we never had the best kid, right? I remember when Cassius Robinson walked in, Shane was at Windsor doing teachers college. And I called him and said, your 2.0's right here. And he's like, whatever. I'm like, yo, your light-skinned brother's right here. Cassius Robinson. This is our next guy, right? Next thing you know, he was playing for Corey at Thornley. Next thing you know, Cassius playing for us. We see you guys in Orlando. We're cheering for each other. We're meeting with Corey in September. Next thing you know, we're merging. We're Shane getting a teacher's job at Thornley, and everything's coming together. And that stuff was all organic. Right, just like Brian coming in here, all organic, right? A lot of our stuff, what's happened over the years, has been organic, and our development's been what it is because we have put the time in. And I see a lot of these young guys coming in think they're just gonna coach, and I'll tell any young guy, if you're not coaching some little kids going in the gym 9 to 1, then you're not doing it. Right. As much as you might see me do CYBL, I'm in the gym from 9 to 1 with the young ones, man. Right? And I'm in the gym every day.
Yeah, it's a grind.
I'm in the gym every day.
It's a grind.
I'm in the gym every day. So there's no, when a parent tell me, oh, I'm getting this. No, if I'm not there, I'm in another gym. Or I'm taking some other kids to get an experience like you talked about, right? We just came back from NPSI. I took them to the Boston College game. I took them to the Bryan game. I didn't have to have no speech with them. They were telling me, Skinner, this is what we run. Oh, shoot, I see what you're talking about. Boom, 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 boom. We look different when we played our games. Right? So that's the stuff where the young coaches got to understand. This is where our culture comes in as Canada basketball to keep growing it. It's not about just getting in the gym and try to get the next best kid. Yeah, you can steal one, but I'm going to develop another one. You take one, I'm going to develop another one. Right? That's what it comes down to, right? And I'm not going nowhere. I thought about this the other day. I ain't going nowhere because our culture needs to be nourished. We're in the right situation and we kind of nourish it over the next 20 years, we'll have 50 guys in the NBA. That's where we're headed, right? It's not just 20.
So, I mean, I remember a time recently within the last 10 years where, like, when we would go down to the States on these trips, the Americans were literally coming up to us and being like, yo, what are you feeding these guys? Like, what is in the water up there? We were just catching them all, like, and, like, big wins, It had them really wondering, and you could see it also in like in the draft lottery. We had Canadians in the draft, like in the lottery, every single year, multiple Canadians. I feel like it's slowed down a little bit in terms of getting to the NBA. What would you guys attribute that to? Do you think it's like maybe the oversaturation of there being more elite teams that are not actually elite? Or like what would you say you think has caused that little dip in the number of guys we have in the lottery now?
I think the rest of the world is slowly starting to catch on, right? I mean, we're considered international, but that international label is very broad, right? You got players coming from France. You got the Luka Doncic of the world, the Jokers of the world, the Giannis's of the world. So, I mean, Canada's still booming, and there's a lot of kids that are playing basketball here. But basketball has gone worldwide now, right? So it's, especially with the change in the game, right? It's not just about explosiveness and athleticism anymore. Now we're looking at metrics in terms of shooting percentage, you know, who can create more plays. Like, so, I mean, talent is one thing, but it's spread worldwide now, right? So I don't think it's a lack of what Canadians are doing, why, you know, our lottery picks have slowed down. I just think there's other parts of the world that have caught up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And things happen in phases. And
Talent
you know,
too.
there was a huge wave, as you said. We had lottery picks year in and year out. But to what Jordan was saying, the world is catching up. There's a ton of international outside of Canada that are now making the jump to the NBA.
Yeah. The Africans are making a big push.
Yeah, but now I also think the NBA is starting to see that there's a lot of talented guys who aren't in the NBA. And you're getting the talks of, you know, LeBron and his guys starting this new league, you know, in the world. And now the NBA wants to do something similar. So you're going to see a lot more expansion, I think, from the NBA and a lot more opportunities for guys. But, yeah, I wouldn't say that anything has changed here, per se. But it's just worldwide. A lot more guys are getting drafted from other countries. Africa, too. There's a huge boom.
Well, NBA has their own Africa division, right? NBA Africa. So, a lot of talent coming from over there. I had a question also about Canada Elite specifically. What would you say sets Canada Elite apart from these other organizations? What's different about Canada Elite?
Well,
Go ahead, Brad.
as somebody coming in, what I can say is the knock on, you know, shoe circuit teams, whether it's Canada, America, is, you know, they just collect players and, you know, go out and play. Whereas here is, you know, there's a little bit of that, but mostly it's still development and growth, right? So anybody that knows me knows that's always been my biggest thing. Yes, my program wins, but it was never about the wins. It was about the growth and development. I got to make sure everybody in the program gets better, and that should take care of itself. Right, and that's one thing I noticed with this program is not only are they, you know, able to attract the elite talent because elite players want to play with each other, it's also you're coming in as a level 9, let's say, out of 10, but we're taking you from level 9 to level 10. We're not just you know I don't want to say exploiting, but just exploiting the fact that you're a 9. We're going to turn you into a 10. That's because as easy as it sounds, it's not. Right, there's a lot of work that goes into making that last final jump of being like the best, the best version of yourself. So that's definitely something I noticed that separates Canada Elite from a lot of other programs.
I also think that the relationships among, you know, the coaches and the pieces at Canada Elite, it's not basic. It's not just transactional. You know what I mean? Like, we genuinely like each other.
Yeah.
Do we butt heads? Hell yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, what strong relationship do you have where you don't butt heads, at least creatively, right? But we genuinely value each other's opinions. We respect each other from, you know, just personally as men. But we genuinely enjoy each other's company. So it's not like other programs where, all right, this guy's good at this, so let's reach out and see if he can coach our 15s this year. And we'll just see how it goes. Don't check in on the person. Don't provide any feedback. But by next year, if it doesn't go right, you're just replacing that person and you never speak to them again. Right. We're not like that at Canada Elite. You know, we don't like to burn bridges. We create, you know, meaningful relationships. And I think that spills over and it feeds into how the teams are ran and how they play. We're about chemistry. We're about development. So if the parents and the kids can't see that, you know, there's a synergy between us, then for me as a parent, that's not where I would want my kid. Yeah. Right? You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the main factors, in my opinion. Like, we're genuinely friends when we leave the hardwood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for me, it's like, it's the culture piece. We had a tryout last week. And I had a grade 3 father come up to me, and he said, my son wants to play here. And he said that his son told him he felt like this was a family environment because he had other parents encouraging him. the other parents were talking to the new parents,
Yeah.
letting them know about the program. But I think what we've done is we've built a culture, and people see that, you know, it's the same faces every year. But for us, we need to continue to evolve, and bringing in a guy like Brian, who, to be honest, he's built this massive program over the last 5 years. I don't know if anyone's done it as quick and as big as he has. And he's, of course, younger than us, so he brings a different type of energy to the culture. So I think that's important. But these are the kinds of people that we want to bring into our organization. But I think the foundation starts with building the right culture with the parents and the players, and making them feel at home.
So Canada Elite actually has had some incredible talent wear the jersey. Amongst you guys, Brian, I don't know if you would be able to speak to this, but at least you guys, who would you say is the best talent that Canada Elite has ever produced? Best talent.
Man,
They trying to get us in trouble.
yeah.
I know you got one. I know you guys got favorites. So let's.
Are we talking longevity or just the best we've seen with our own eyes in front of us at the time? Are we talking about how far they've gone, or?
I mean that would be a factor for sure.
Okay, so I'll start. Justin Jackson, like, just pound for pound, was like unbelievable, right? You have guys like Nikhil who developed to be that pound to pound guy over the years. I seen that from the jump, right? I know there's been a lot of stories, we didn't play him, and that's part of development, man. And I thought that helped his journey big time, right? Because he's such a hungry kid.
Yeah.
Right? And if you know Nikhil's story, anytime we practice, you drop him home. He ain't going home. You're dropping him at YMCA. You're dropping him somewhere for him to play more basketball.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think I've ever had a kid like that. Right? And I've dropped a lot of kids home.
He was different.
Yeah, I dropped a lot of kids home. So he's different, right? Like Rashawn, another kid, like, just love basketball. Like, there's no telling him, like, you don't have to ask Rashawn, did you play basketball today? No. You know what I'm saying? It's how long he played, right? Those kids just loved it, right? And there's some kids you got to force them to the gym, right? Yeah. When Thon walked in the gym, I was like, I thought he was Terminator. You know the little robots? I thought he was Terminator. I was just like, look at this guy. This is not even real.
Yeah, he was
right?
fun to coach.
Like,
too.
when he sprinted up and down the court, Thon Maker, I've never seen anything like that to this day.
Yeah.
Right? A Fosa, I've never seen anybody so explosive.
Yeah.
Like he put a guy in the rim just a couple days ago, what should be viral again. Literally put the kid in the rim. Like, so I've seen some stuff and everybody was like, wow, you know. So we have had a lot of talent, man, and we've been fortunate. Even Eugene, who played for us 2 weekends, Smallin sent them to us.
He was a couple of those stories, those Kareem Mane's.
Kareem Mane, you know. I called Courtside Films to come film him, and we went 0-4 that weekend. But he was the best player in the gym.
Yeah.
He was the best player in the gym, man. So
Cassius Robertson,
Cassius McNeely. We have had some kids who've been really good, right? Even Caleb Baker. Like, he played Anthony Edwards. I just watched that game when we played them. We lost to them by 6. Not like we got killed.
I remember that
Anthony Edwards had like 15 points in the game, you know? Cassius and Caleb Baker's going neck and neck with the guy, right? So it's really about opportunity. And like for you said before, I think we have created opportunity. That's why our kids are going Division I. And then the kids who really focused went to the NBA because we have provided that opportunity. Because when I was playing, there was no going to the States. Yeah. I was being recruited by CN, and the first time they saw me was at Star Wars. Right? And I had a bad second half because I didn't know what I was really getting into, right? But that's just kind of the nurturing, and that's why I came back to help guys, right? Because I felt like you need that, like, coach is watching you today.
Yeah.
You know, that changes you. When somebody says, yo, Tris, like, the coach is here for you today. Okay, coach, all right.
Yeah.
Right? So, and those are the opportunities we weren't getting, but our kids are getting those opportunities now, right? I got over 150 coaches in my phone, easily, who are active coaches, right? We've been 100% sending kids post-secondary ball, right? We send them. You're with us for more than 3-4 years, and you're going post-secondary ball, and we're showing up to your game. I just watched Javier and Tyler the other night. I made sure I watched their game, right? So we're just not just fly-by coaches, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And we're going to be there for your journey at the end of the day, right? If you're when it gets rough, we're going to come visit you at your game. We're going to call your coach for you. Like, these are the stuff we do, and that's what's different than any other program, to be honest.
Yeah, the follow-up is real. Like, we've all, throughout the year, as soon as the season starts, even off-season, we'll go to different college campuses, whether it's NC2A, whether it's youth sports. We're going to watch games. We're going to communicate with coaches. The follow-up is important, and I think that's what parents need to understand as well, right? Just having someone in your corner that can advocate for your child. Not to say that they got to be bullies or anything, but it means it comes across a lot different in terms of their experience at their post-secondary institution where they're at. When that coaching staff knows that you have some backing. You have someone that checking in.
So important.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that we offer at Canada Elite. And it's not even something that we say we offer. We just do it instinctively, right? You know, I know Skinner's been on the road for the last couple of weekends. He went to Texas to go watch Vashawn. He's all over the place. I know Shane goes and travels. You know, Javante. I was up in Philly the other day watching Baraka and Tunde at the Temple game. You know, we make it our duty to follow up because it's not over once you send them post secondary.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not over.
I think it's safe to say that we're, Skinner teacher, psychologist, shrink, accountant. You name it, we got
all the hats,
right?
Yeah,
all the hats.
It's true.
So this is something else I wonder. As a media guy, being on the sideline there with the camera and filming these kids, I noticed that they play different when the camera's out.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on.
I notice it myself. I've even had coaches say to me, "Can you just not today, not this one, because we really need to get this one." And the guys start doing crazy stuff when they see the camera because they want to highlight, right? How do you keep the kids focused on long-term success when they're getting all this exposure at such a young age?
Well, for me, I talk to my kids all the time about it. I mean, you can go to my practice yesterday, and I tell them, guys, the best way for me to show you guys true love is to be brutally honest with you guys and tell you the full, real truth, right? So as far as longevity goes, I know some of these guys are almost like local celebrities right now, and I'm like, listen, I talk to them about it. I'm like, I know you guys think you're there, but you're actually still 100 steps away from where you need to be. But that's not me being mean or trying to make you feel bad or you know what I mean. I'm trying to motivate you. So if you didn't like what I said, that's good. Use that to fire you up. Coach, doesn't think I'm right there. Use that. That's exactly why I'm saying it, right? But again, I have to be brutally honest with you, right? So when you do something well, I'm gonna let you know. But if you need to be better at this, I'm not just saying it just because your mom or dad is not coming to me and telling me to say, hey, can you tell Johnny this and that better? No, I'm watching what's going on. This is what you're going to need at the next level. And then the level after that, this is what you're going to need, right? So the best thing I can do is be truthful and honest. And then if you accept that and you take that information the right way, good things should happen, right? If you don't, I can't do it. I can't do everything for you, right? To me, when I talk to these kids, I tell them, this is an open book test. I want you all to pass, right? For me, it's a good thing if you all pass, right? You all, grasp the concepts and you learn and you're able to move on and be successful there, right? But, at the same time, if I keep telling you 1 + 1 is 2 and you keep putting down 3, eventually time runs out in class and you have to hand in your paper and I look at it and it's I really wanted to mark your thing right, but it's just wrong. You know what I mean? And that's what basketball is going to do to you. Right, I told them the Clippers are coming whether you like it or not. Right, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not, whether your mom or dad likes it or not, the Clippers are coming. So if you're not ready, you're gonna get clipped. So you might be the guy now, but again, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you don't want to be the guy that gets clipped later.
Yep. And after grade 9, it just shrinks. Right?
Everything changes.
The talent pool grows, but the opportunity kind of
right. There's only so many spots to do certain things.
Right.
Right. So
and just to add to what he's saying, being direct and brutally honest, I think it's important. But then that spills over into what we were talking before about the whole team hopping thing, right? There used to be this sacred relationship between player and coach, or player and parent. But when you're team hopping, that relationship is, you may have a relationship, but it's not tight.
It's
right?
not the same, yeah.
So I mean, I truly believe that it takes a village to raise a child. And if we're talking about an athlete, it takes a lot more. And the strong personalities, the most prominent personalities in their life, role models, probably should be the parents, mom and dad, and coach. Yeah. And if they're not preaching the same thing, if they're not following up and preaching the same thing that coach is when they leave the gym, then yeah, you're going to have that player that's playing highlight basketball. If they're preaching something else, if the coach's values is, stay disciplined, accountability, follow the game plan, keep working, don't worry about the camera. The camera is going to be there whether or not you make that highlight, right? If that's not the values that are being taken home and supported by the parents, then what coach just said to that kid doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hold any weight, because we only spend how much time with the kids compared to the time they spend at home, right? So I think that sacred relationship, it's kind of disappeared, right? Because every family wants to play on different teams now.
Right.
What Coach Brian says to a player now only holds so much weight, because he's going to go to another team. Little Johnny's going to go to another team, and that coach is going to tell him something different.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So the other thing about media, too, is I think there needs to be some sort of a culture shift in terms of what we consider a highlight. Because most trainers, when you think about most trainers now, they get in the gym, they work on ball handling, they work on shooting, they work on breakdown moves. And that's it. Regardless of what you're learning on your teams, that's what they're going to focus on, right? How about media why don't we start to do defensive mixtapes?
Yeah,
right?
we talked about this
how many charges you can take, block shots, you know what I mean? And making it a big thing, because make no mistake, whatever we in the basketball world deem to be popular and we pour enough into it, it's going to be popular.
Yeah.
It's going to be popular. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's just my take on
defensive
media
mixtape. That's different, yeah.
Take some charges, man. You know what I mean?
You're not lying, Jordan.
Shots.
I saw a referee mixtape the other day. So if they can do a referee mixtape, they can do a defense mixtape.
Yeah.
You're lying. Referee mixtape?
Ref is out there just
There's a couple refs I'd like to see on a mixtape.
Yeah? Oh, man. Because even
right?
if,
dead ball, he does a little move or something, right?
Because if you look at the way, like, even from a pro perspective, right? If you look at the basketball landscape, the direction in which basketball is headed, viewership's down in the NBA, right? It's because everyone's getting so used to these high scores, 130 points, 120-something points. It's starting to get boring
no one's getting dunked on anymore.
No one's getting dunked on anymore.
Threes.
Like, the compete level looks different. I'll go to an NC2A game any day. If you offer me tickets to like a NBA game versus NC2A game and you tell me to choose, I'm taking the NC2A game any day of the week. Because they're playing defense, they're working hard. You know what I'm saying? There's that level of competition that you're just not going to get from an NBA game right now, because it's predicated on scoring points, right? Shooting, you
can't touch nobody.
You can't touch anybody. You know what I mean? Like, the game has just changed. So I don't know. I just think that, defensively, we need to find our way back to, like, making things a bit more competitive. It's not as competitive as it used to be.
Would that come about with some rule changes, you think, at the NBA level?
Yeah, like the hand check rule. Get rid of it. Like, get rid of it. Like, I touch you, you calling a foul on me?
Yeah.
Like, get rid of it.
Because they then still call basketball a physical game.
It's a physical sport.
It's a physical
you know
sport.
what, too? I think that doesn't help the competitions. They all like each other. Like, they're all friends.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nowadays, it's all media, right? So you know, all these guys know each other. Like, they're all friends. So it's hard to really give that full. It's like, you know, I don't know, like you have a really close friend or a brother growing up. You'll wrestle, you'll tussle, but like you won't hit each other in the face.
You're not going to go
You know what I
all the
mean?
way,
Like,
yeah.
but if it's somebody else that you don't know or you just don't like or whatever, you're crushing them.
Yeah.
Right? Where now that's what we're seeing on the court now.
Mhm.
I'll
That's a
hit
great
you,
analogy.
but
It's
I'm
a
not
great
gonna hit you in the
analogy,
face, you know?
actually,
Like,
yeah.
it's not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna spill there.
Yeah.
Right. And honestly, that's the heart of competition is we don't take it all the way there, but we get pretty damn close. Right now, it's like whatever, man. You got it today. All right, buddy.
Yeah.
But try again next time.
You almost know what you're gonna get when you turn on an NBA game. You kind of know the script, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna shoot 100 threes. Both team is gonna score 124 to 1 something. So it's kind of like there's the whole mystery behind, you know, what's gonna happen in the game. It's kind of gone because every team is running the same sets, dribble handoffs and ball screens. Like it's
They have one guy that plays defense.
one guy that plays defense. Like the day
best
of
player.
the rim protector's gone because you can't spend more than 3 seconds in the key now defensively. Like I don't know, man. I think the more competitive it gets is the more the viewership will go up. Right? Who wants to go to a movie knowing what the end is going to be like? Right?
Yeah,
So.
makes sense. All right. So I have a couple individual questions here. Actually, I'm gonna jump into. Shane, so you played D1 at Loyola University, right? What lessons from your time over there shaped your approach to coaching and the way you coach now?
I would say the biggest thing is adaptability. So playing in Canada my whole life, because I didn't go to prep school in the U.S., and adapting to the American culture and the competitiveness was, it kind of hit me in the face, to be honest. Those guys at that level, they compete day in and day out, not just on the basketball court, but in the weight room. And I didn't take the weight room seriously in high school while I was here. We did our little weightlifting classes, kind of joked around, didn't take it seriously. But when I got down there, it was like, these dudes are lifting some heavy weights, right? And you're sore, and you got to still shoot. You still got to practice. But just adapting to that American culture. They have the football mentality because most of those kids, you know, they play dual sports. They're dual athletes. They play football and basketball. And then the coaching. You know, I played for Jimmy Patsos, who he won a national championship at Maryland 2001, I want to say, with Juan Dixon and Lonnie Baxter and Steve Blake and those guys.
Okay.
And then he took the job at my school. So playing for him was difficult because, one, he was a yeller. He's like a Bobby Knight kind of guy. You know, he got that from Gary Williams, who was the head coach at Maryland. But he held us accountable. And if there's one person that I've learned a lot of life lessons from, it's him, because he didn't let us, you know, goof around, take days off.
Yeah.
He was business. And he was in my face, yelling, spitting, screaming. You know, it was bad. It got bad at sometimes. But if you ask him, you know, who he's yelled at the most in his career, my name would probably come up.
Yeah.
But I think I learned so much being in that environment that it translates to, you know, where I am today. And he's a relationship guy. I kind of pride myself on that too as well, just treating people how I want to be treated and keeping relationships strong. And that's how I treat my players too when I coach them.
I wouldn't say you're a yeller though.
No, I've calm demeanor. So I learned to do and what not to do, you know, in that situation.
Yeah, because it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have kids on your team that are going to respond well to the yelling. Yeah. And then you're going to have kids that are just going to
everyone's different.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So it is a balance. And does that come into play, knowing who can handle the yelling and yelling at them? And do you like maybe not yell at certain kids because they're a little bit
Yeah,
softer or
yeah, everyone's different. Some kids need it to wake up, especially in those morning games. But there's kids that they just have it. Like they have the energy. They're Curtis, who's playing on our grade 8 team right now. Like he plays for you too, right? Like that kid comes into the gym and he doesn't need to warm up. He's ready to go. He's yelling, he's screaming, he's hyping up the team.
Showed up to practice with a rough hand, and I told him to work on his left hand. No complaints.
Yeah, so I think it's situational and depending on who the kid is.
Yeah.
But these kids, they have to understand Division I. It's not a joke.
No.
And I know there's levels to it. You got your lower teams, your mid teams, and your high level teams, your Power 5s. But at all 3 levels, it is intense.
It is, yeah.
Right? And you got to get better every day, and you can't show up to practice or to games and take it lightly. Otherwise, you're going to get eaten alive. You end up in the portal or end up at home. So yeah, those I think those are the main things. Just adapting to my environment.
Cool. And as a GM of the Calgary Surge, how do you balance your professional team responsibilities with the grassroots stuff and the Canada Elite? Like, how do you find that balance? Because I can imagine it's a lot. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah. It's a huge difference because, being a general manager, I'm talking to agents, I'm talking to other organizations, pro teams, G League GMs as well, about certain players. But to be honest, at the end of the day, basketball is basketball. It's either you got it or you don't. You got the skill set, you don't. But there's a character piece in there too as well that's very important, especially at the pro level, because you see it a lot more who people are. And the guys who were coached well and brought up in organizations that preach culture, that preach character, that preach respect, responsibility, and all that good stuff, it translates, and the players carry it with them to the pro level. So there's certain programs, when we look at the pro guys, we look at what AAU team they played for, what high school they played for, what colleges they played for. And there's definitely a correlation, between the good and the bad. And we've had guys that we had to ship out early. They last a week. And then we've had guys who play for us for 3-4 years. And then there's guys, the Canadian players specifically, who I've got to work with personally from when they were in high school. Sean Miller, Moore Rugsy, Steph Smith, Simi Shitus of the world. Like those guys I've known from yay high, so I kind of know what their backgrounds are. But yeah, it's all about where where they started at the grassroots level.
Cool. And so Skinner, you've coached at multiple different levels, guys and girls.
1 year of girls, 1 year of girls.
1 year, but you still did it. You're still there. How has your coaching philosophy or approach to coaching evolved over the years?
That's a good question. When I first came in, I was more of a yeller, discipline, get after it, because that's how I played. But with knowledge, you calm down, right? And then over the years, the philosophy is more like getting kids to the next level and getting them ready, right? Every kid's a little bit different. Everybody comes from a different background. So you really got to find a medium for a kid, right? You really got to figure, is he a single parent home? All that stuff matters. Is daddy involved? Is mommy not involved? Is he going to be able to get to practice?
Right.
Will he be able to go away to school, stay to school? Now with this new on-ons of prep basketball and the costs, are they going to be able to afford it? So it's changed over the years, but for me, the one thing that's been consistent is that people, like in Canada, we always want to get to the next level. And that hasn't changed in 27 years with parents or with kids. And you just got to kind of nurture where their energy needs to be and just keep them off the streets and keep them ready to take that next step. That's where we're at now with most of our kids, right? And every kid, the best kid could be in Markham 1 year. The next kid could be in Mississauga. It's going to change,
Yeah.
Right? So it's not going to always be a triple balance. We'll always have good players. We'll develop them, but we might not have the next NBA player, right? So he could be anywhere in this world or in Ontario, right? But it's really like I saw St. Brown's dad said something the other day. There's no such thing as lazy kids. It's lazy parents, right? And that's a real one, right? Right. So if you're a parent who's gonna bring your kid to the field on Thanksgiving or Christmas, because I'm that guy. There's no holiday. We're in the house. We're in the gym.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no such thing as lazy kids. It's lazy parents. That's what it is.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's deep. Now, a couple of years ago, we had an opportunity to go watch our sons play in Italy.
Yep.
From seeing the way they develop over there, and the lower rims and all that kind of stuff. What is the biggest difference that you feel like in the way they approach teaching basketball to youth and we do over here?
We do things for gratification right away. On a whole, in Europe they don't. You saw that right away in Italy. And it's funny. I was watching. Who was it last night? I think San Diego State. They have St. Mary's. They have a European point guard. And I was just like, this kid would probably played against Matthew last year and wasn't even a good player, but now he's 18, 19, develop, handling the ball, and the fundamentals, what they were just talking about. Like they picked up man. They weren't playing no zone in Europe, right? They played half court. They made sure the kids could shoot the ball and touch the rim. Right, so their development's a lot slower, but it's actually you're gonna see it better long term, right? And when you talk about development, there's two ways of development. Because in Canada, Australia, we do pods. They put the best players together, right? When you put the best players together, only 8 or 9 of them is really gonna develop because there's only one ball. In America, they have all these AAU programs. They have all these programs, and then they invite the kids to USA basketball. And I think that open pool also helps Americans because they give every kid an opportunity. So your approach could be two ways, right? You can condense them, but you're not going to develop all 20. In America, they think, we got 8,000 teams, but we're going to get 20. And that's what they focus on, right? So I like that philosophy. It's just your approach on both.
Right. Coach Mac, what would you say has been your proudest moment as a coach?
Proudest moment?
Proudest moment as a coach.
Wow. That's a good question.
I know mine.
You're limiting me to one moment?
The first one that comes to mind. Let's go with the first one that comes to mind.
As a coach. I don't know if I have a particular moment.
Maybe hearing Justin's name when we were in the
all right. See, I didn't even remember that
draft
one.
party. Because Jordan cried. I remember that. I was holding him.
No, that's emotional, man. My biggest one is when we won 15U.
Yeah?
And book hall won it. I didn't know I was going to get emotional like that.
Yeah.
Like just seeing us run and when you're on the circuit, you're not getting every call. It's hard to win. It's hard to win on the circuit. You all know this, right? Yeah. And to get to a semis and finals as Canada Elite on your chest and just seeing those guys prevail and winning that, I was just like, we actually did this?
Actually did it.
I was just like, wow. I was blown away. I was just like, that was so emotional for me. That one right there. That was emotional.
I wasn't on the road for that one.
You would have wept like me. I did. I wept a little bit. That was emotional for me.
I mean, the Justin getting drafted was a moment because he's the true definition of a kid that like day one, grade 3, he was like 5'10" in grade 3, like just ridiculously tall, uncoordinated. And I went through my battles with parents and just onlookers about, winning. So for me as a coach, young, I was very young. I was like 19, 20 years old. Like the biggest battle for me was parents getting at me for not sticking him in the post. And back then, you put a big guy in the post. He's big, you put him in the post. Yeah. But I was just like, okay, he's 5'10" now. But what if he doesn't grow another inch? What if this is it for him?
Yeah.
He needs to have all the skills. So, I require him to rebound. I require him to protect the rim,
Yeah.
but go guard the point guard.
Mhm.
Bring the ball up the floor. And when you really get to know, this is a big part of like the, player coach synergy. When you really get to know a player and you understand his likes, his dislikes, who he idolizes. Justin's favorite player was Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you rarely hear a kid tell you that their favorite player is Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
But he valued the playmaking ability, the passing. So when I hear that now, I'm like, why am I just going to make him Shaq? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So parents were getting at me. Like, I would lose games with this 5'10" third grader. I would
Yeah.
lose games because I didn't just stick him in the post. He'd be handling the ball. He'd turn it
Yeah.
over a bunch of times.
But he was developing.
And we lose.
Yeah.
But it was about development. So
yeah.
just to have him, and he's one of the most loyal, him and his family, one of the most loyal people that you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
He had everybody in his ears. I'm talking about Canadian teams. I'm talking about American teams. When we're on the road, we're in hotels.
Mhm.
They catch him in the lobby on the ones. They're talking to him, trying to pull him over. Immediately, he's coming to me saying, "Coach, this guy approached me."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's stuck with it. And just to have a kid from the inception, when he first picks up a ball, all the way through to he's getting drafted, that's special.
Yeah.
So
that is a problem for
if
sure.
Shane said I was crying, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna object. It was
And then I had him with the Surge for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been great locker room guy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Brian, so you just finished playing, I feel like it was not too long ago. Was it 2017? You won
around
a OC 2A
AA,
championship, right?
Sheridan, yeah.
At Sheridan, right?
Yeah.
So how was the transition for you going from playing at that level into coaching? Do you find that you coach kind of the way you played?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a combo of like my high school coach, my college coach, and then like me, like I'm in the middle there, right? So like my college coach was kind of like a yeller. My high school coach was more of like a calmer, more like teacher type, right? Really taught me like a lot of IQ of the game. And then just naturally myself, right? Like I was never really like the fastest or strongest or like jump the highest, but I worked really hard. I had a good jump shot and I had a very high IQ for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I took all those things and, it kind of just, molded into my coaching style now where, I have some of the yeller in me, but then I also have some of the, the teacher, right? And then also, again, understanding that, you kids need to put in the work, but, there's certain ways to get, I tell the kids, I tell them, I'm like, you guys want to stack up check marks, right? So when you're playing a game or in practice or in training, like you're stacking up check marks, right? So there's more than one way to stack up a check mark. It's not just scoring. Most kids think if I didn't score, I didn't do anything. It's like,
right.
But I'll stop a practice and be like, look, this guy screened and cut 5 times in a row. He didn't even get the ball. The ball didn't even go in his direction. But because he did that, it opened up something for that other guy.
Right.
that's right.
That guy got me 5 check marks right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it had nothing to do with scoring, but just him getting involved in the game. So that's kind of my philosophy because for me, I've been everything. I've been the 12th man. I've been the star. So I relate to everyone.
Yeah.
So the kid that's not really getting a lot of time, I've been there, buddy. Trust me. This is what you got to do. Show the coach, right? Turn 2 minutes into 5 minutes.
That's right.
Turn 5 minutes
Yeah.
into 7.
That's right. That's
7
right.
turns to 12. You know what I mean? Like that's how it works, right? And then I've been the star where it's like you're on a good team and they're coming to play such and such or let's say BOA, but they're really coming to play youth like 2-3 guys. Like you're the reason why that group is the way they are.
Yeah.
So understanding that, like you got to defend that, right? Understanding being the 5th or 6th guy where like, yeah, I'm on the good team and I contribute, but maybe I'm not the star, but I gotta do my part. I gotta help those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been in every situation you could be in as far as a basketball player goes, right? So that all contributes into my coaching style. And then, my playing days, I did very well at Sheridan. So
Brian, there was a video that resurfaced probably 2 months ago. I think it was a buzzer beater. Can you just walk us through that moment?
yeah, I mean, that was actually, that's definitely a very proud moment for me. It's the OCAA finals. We're actually undefeated all year. So, there's a lot of like things going on, right? The stuff that people didn't know about, like our head coach actually was sick, so he couldn't really be there. So our assistant coach kind of coached the last like month and a half of the season, Nikki Davis. And so funny enough, that was actually like my worst game of the year. Like all year, I'd been averaging like 18, 19 points a game, shooting whatever percentage, and all that stuff. And that game, I was like 2 for 14. Like I had like 6. I'm going up and down the court like I'm really blowing the championship right now. Like I really. But when push came to shove, I can break it down. I mean, what happened was, our point guards were going back and forth. Like they both were having amazing games, and they both weren't really scorers. Like the two scorers, we were both struggling on our ends. So the point guards are having a great game, and then we are up 3. They call a timeout. They hit a 3 to tie. We kind of look over at the side, like, are we calling timeout? The coach is like, nah, go. So we go, like, all right, that's how we've been trained to play, right? Just run your lane, and whatever happens, happens. So point guard that's killing it kicks it to me. And because he knows, like, what, in these situations, Brian usually comes through. I know he's not having the greatest game right now, and I am. So he had every right to shoot it, but he gave it to me. I shoot it. I actually miss. Rebound goes right back to him. In one motion, he gives it right back to me.
Right back.
It's like he read my mind, because in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I'm missing this twice. Got it back, let it go, game over.
Okay.
Right? And then obviously in the moment, when you have
He
those.
was flexing on those dudes.
I
Watch the video a couple times.
When you have those moments in life where like you have a million thoughts, but you see each and every thought at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That's what happens. So I'm hitting the shot and it's going in. I'm like, wow, like I just hit the game winner for the championship. We're still undefeated. So all this emotion is hitting me all at once, and I almost punched the ref. Like I did like a thing where I spun around and I almost hit the ref, and then after that I just let everything out. I'm just going crazy. I'm in the crowd. I'm pumping my jersey. I think I might have took off my jersey. I was going crazy. Yeah. I mean, Shane's seen the video, so I'll show you guys.
Yeah, I gotta see that video. I haven't seen it yet.
We're gonna have.
But
to.
yeah, it was definitely crazy. So kind of parlayed that
That's
into
cool.
who I am now as a coach.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I just got a couple more questions here for us guys before we wrap it up. The good, the bad, and the ugly of the AAU circuit.
The good, the bad.
I mean, I guess we can give quick answers. I mean,
Quicker answers, yeah.
for
Just
me,
real quick.
I mean, I'll go first.
Then I got
guess.
one more after.
I guess I'll go first. The good is, the competition level is good, and the opportunity that it gives a lot of kids, especially, the underprivileged, right? Like a lot of kids, this is their motivation. This is what keeps them off the streets. This is what keeps them in the classroom, right? Like I know for me, even though I wasn't a part of this, like my mom came to me and said, you can't play ball if, you don't get this or this grade or whatever.
Yeah.
Right away, whatever she wanted to get done is getting done. And that's happening for a lot of kids. And a lot of these kids need that, because without that, the environment they're in, you hear all the time, product of your environment. A lot of times it's not the kid, it's where he's coming from. I've seen the best kids. I call them Disney kids. But by, 14, 15, just being in that environment, it changes everything for them. Right? So there's that as far as being good. The bad, just I guess like we talked about earlier, right? Like the oversaturation, right?
Yeah.
Like you got the team hopping now, and then like the lack of continuity and consistency for kids that hurts their development, and it just hurts them as people too, right? Like there's no accountability, there's no willing to work through periods of adversity, right? It's just like, oh, it's not working here, I'm just gonna quit and go. There's no fight back, right? So there's that. And then the ugly is, it's honestly it's the adults in the game, right? Like the parents at times, right? Some of these handlers or whatever, an organization just doing, I don't want to say underhanded things, but underhanded or slimy, or you know what I mean, just backdooring people to do certain. It's always been weird to me, right? Like I've always kind of moved with positive intentions, and kind of good things come off of that. And whereas you talk to people and they say one thing to your face and do one thing behind you. It's just a lot of that stuff is just as the kids get older, it gets uglier and uglier, right? More money and stuff gets involved, and it just. For me, I'm a purist of the game, right? Like that's really what I'm here for. So all the other stuff is kind of just I try to stay away from it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, you explained the good, the platform, the competition, right? I'm just gonna pull bad and ugly together.
Yeah.
Just a lack of transparency, people being in it for the wrong reasons, parents that are trying to be educated about the whole industry of basketball, but they're being, I guess, coerced brainwashed, having the wool pulled over their eyes by people who don't have their best interests at heart. Like for instance, like if you're on a shoe circuit, you have a golden opportunity. Whether it's Adidas, Nike, or UA, you have a golden opportunity. All right, to tell a child that if you don't play, let's say said Nike, you don't have a chance at all of being successful moving forward in the sport is absolutely detrimental to that child's goals, dreams, and their development, right? If you're in the know-how, if you know how this thing works, the college coaches circle throughout
Every event.
So in the history of AAU or the shoe circuit, AAU circuit, usually the events happen in the same state, same city, right? Sometimes it happens different in different parts of America, but for the most part, the event organizers try to make things easier for the college coaches to be able to circulate and get to each circuit to see each event. So, you know, my pet peeve is just people just being just lying to parents. Like, don't lie to them. It's great opportunities. Like all 3 circuits there's more than 3 now, right? But you have a golden opportunity if you're on a circuit. And I mean, if you're not on a circuit, you can still get something. You know what I mean? But my pet peeve is when people try to lie and say, if you don't play this, then you're doomed. You know what you're doing. That's parents don't fall for that nonsense. If you have an opportunity, if you're presented a platform, it's up to you as the parents to push your kids, and it's up to your kids to have enough passion and determination to make something out of the platform that they've been given.
Yeah. If you have talent, they will find you.
There you go.
We have all heard that statement, right? So
I think I'm gonna, jump on what and add to what Jordan was saying with respect to, programs just being honest and telling the truth. But I think a lot of parents need to educate themselves, and it comes down to education. Let's just call a spade a spade. There really is only 3 officially sponsored teams in our country that play in the top division of a shoe circuit. We know who they are. One has stripes, one has a check mark, and then there's us, which is Under Armour. And I think it's important that people got to know that. And all of this information is readily available to the public. You just go on websites. I had a conversation about it with a friend of mine yesterday who gave me, he gave me the list of all the programs who play in these leagues. And parents got to know this stuff. And these are the platforms that the elite kids in our country need to be on. Now, I was watching a game a couple weeks ago, one of my favorite games to watch, when the Minnesota Timberwolves play Oklahoma City. And it's obviously Shea versus Nikhil, but at one point in time on the court, Anthony Edwards was on the floor, Nikhil was on the floor, Chet Holmgren was on the floor, Naz Reid was on the floor, and the kid from Maryland who plays on OKC, who started
Aaron
Wiggins. So at one point in time, there were 5 kids who played in the UAA that we've seen from 15U all the way to 17U play in our circuit on an NBA floor. Now, a lot of this stuff is smoke and mirrors. People will say one league is better than the other, which is not the case, because at Under Armour events, we see, we've seen Mike Krzyzewski when he was coaching. We've seen John Calipari.
Roy Williams.
We've seen Roy Williams.
Bill Self has come to our gym many times.
Bill Self, which Kansas' biggest Adidas school. Bill Self was at Thornley, recruiting Javonte Brown. So
even recruiting Rashad.
There's a big misconception that, in order for certain schools to see you, you have to be at these different, brand leagues. Like the teams that have the check mark, if you don't play in the EYBL, those teams aren't coming to see you, which is not the case. Mike Krzyzewski has sat courtside at our games, watching certain guys, right? So there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to this shoe circuit stuff. They all provide the same thing, exposure for kids at the highest level. Every situation is different for every kid. So the best thing that the best advice that I'd give parents, and we've been doing this is our 11th year, on the circuit. The last 3 or 4 years, we've played in the Gym Rats, we've played in Made Hoops, we've played. What's our record against EYBL teams?
7-2.
7-2, and these are teams that have won Peach Jam, Team Final, Team Mellow. We've played them all, and we're gonna play them again this year and for years coming, which I think is important because certain circuits don't want to play other circuits. We played an event 3 years ago that Synergy put on. They flew everyone out. They put us up in hotels. 3 days before the event, one circuit decided not to come and play. So it became an Adidas versus Under Armour event, and the Under Armour teams performed better for this particular event. Not to say that they would win every year, but we won. We ended up finishing in 3rd or 4th, which was good for our program. But just the level of competition, like let's in my opinion, we should all just forget about this shoe circuit stuff and play each other all the time. Especially here in Canada, we don't play each other.
Yeah.
So, next week we actually get to play. We get to play UPlay in New Jersey. Our grade 8s get to play them at Made Hoops in the quarterfinals, and our kids are looking forward to it because we don't ever get to play their teams.
Yeah, it's crazy that we have to leave the country to go and play a team from right here. That is crazy.
And I think that speaks volumes as to where we are as a collective, specifically in the GTA.
Right.
There's too much division right now, too much trying to divide and conquer situations and we have the platform, BOA, TPG, Top Tier, YAAACE, Team Iconic, Triple Balance. Top competition is playing in the CYBL every year. There's just, certain programs that are missing. I don't know why. It's a question that we all ask, but I think the parents want to do it and the players want to do it, but it's the adults,
behind the scenes,
that are preventing this stuff from happening. And I think it was Brian that said iron sharpens iron. The best got to play the best.
Yep.
We have a rule in our program before we step foot in the U.S. with our 15s, 16s, and 17s on the circuit. We got to play a certain amount of games in Canada to prepare for that type of competition.
Right.
Why aren't we all playing each other? Why isn't Brookwood Elite, you play Canada Elite, Northern Kings, Grassroots, Collective, the Monarchs? Why aren't we all playing each other? It's just adults who have these selfish reasons not to compete. But I've always been a competitor myself. In our program, we always talk about hunting the best. We headhunt. So wherever the top team is, we're going to try to get into that event, and we're going to try and play them. The top players, we do the same thing. So I think that part of basketball, especially grassroots basketball, has to change. And we'll play anyone.
Yep.
I'll say that on the podcast today. We'll play anyone. Doesn't matter who it is. We're competitors. You learn more from losing than you do from winning. So if we lose games, hey, we're going to get back in the gym and we're going to get better. But let's all play. Let's all play this spring. Let's all play this summer. I'm not trying to call anyone out, but I think this is what makes most sense. because it's what's best for the kids.
I agree.
And for the most part, like one of the kids asked me, Coach, I'm hearing that Nike's different than Under Armour on coaches. And I said, in 2025, it's about relationships. I have about 50 coaches are directly coming to my game. They're coming, right? It doesn't matter where it is. They want to know the schedule. They're coming to our games. We average minimum 60 coaches at our games. It could be a head coach to assistant coach to them sending a JE. Like, he's going to be there to represent, and he's going to watch our top kids, right? Because we're 12 years. When you establish something, you have some sort of continuity with some coaches, right? And that goes for UPlay. That will go for Brookwood and the other top programs because they've been on the circuit, right? Brookwood's probably been a little bit longer than us. They're probably been the most long and standing. Then it's us, and then UPlay because it used to be Bounce. But for us, we have coaches coming to watch our kids. If they're not playing for us, they're probably not even going to recruit you because of relationships, right? So that's stuff, too, you got to understand, right? And it might be you today, somebody else tomorrow, but at the end of the day, we provide the platform, and that wasn't happening 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
We had to beg and plead to get into hoop group, right?
Yeah.
And win some games.
Remember those days?
Right? Remember those days, right? And now we're at the point now people are asking us what time we play. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling, right? What time do you play? What's your schedule, right? Instead of me trying to sell a kid, right? So it's great opportunity for the kids, and the parents just need to understand what levels they're getting into, right? Don't be misled with misinformation because adult wants a certain kid, right? It doesn't feel no purpose. You got to know what you want for your kid long term, and it's going to cultivate whatever program you decide to, right? You just got to make that right decision.
Yeah, and I also want to add, like, the evolution of the shoe circuits. Like, New Balance is doing something now, and Puma is doing something as well, which is great. It's more opportunities. And we're hoping that a lot of these teams who are, playing in these, the second divisions that they do well, they perform. I think it's important so that they become, that fourth shoe circuit team that's playing in that top level. I think that's important. So there's a way for all of us to support each other, right? There's so many kids playing basketball that there's a way to make it work. You know? There's a way for us all to play in the sandbox nicely together, and we just got to figure it out. But I think it starts with, let's just get in the gym and play each other, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, agreed. So I got a big hypothetical question here. We've heard a lot of talk coming from down south of the new president down there talking about Canada being the 51st state. So when I heard that, I immediately thought, hey, does that mean the NCAA now comes up into Canada? And how does that change the landscape here? How do you guys think?
You mean if it actually happens?
This is purely theoretical.
Yeah.
Like, if something like that were to happen,
Okay.
would the NCAA come up here? And how do you think that would change the landscape here?
So I'll start. I mean, if we're talking about sports in general,
Basketball specifically, but sports,
for sure, sports would be better. I think the NCAA would spill into Canada, and a lot of our Canadian universities, which are great institutions, both academically, they got the facilities. We just don't have that culture, that tradition where people show up to games and support the sports like they do in the U.S. But if that were to open up, and you have, those historic programs coming from the NCAA, your Dukes, your North Carolinas, your Marylands, UCLAs, etc., coming to play in Canada, like, those games are selling out.
They're selling
Absolutely.
out. Yeah.
Right? Those games are selling out.
Yeah.
So I think for sports, it would be amazing, but maybe just for sports.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Sports U doesn't have a TV channel. And there's not market sharing amongst the schools for that right now.
Like our own version of ESPN.
Like it just baffles me. Like, they should be dealing with football in September and October, trickling into some basketball, girls basketball, volleyball. Like,
have you guys watched the Final Four U Sport event? Basketball?
No.
Do you know where to find it?
Yeah, I was about to say I don't even know where.
And we're in 2025.
Yeah.
right?
All right.
And if you would watch it because you probably have a kid on it.
Yeah.
You probably coach the kid. I can guarantee you almost every club in Toronto has a kid playing sports youth ball and would tap in, but they just don't have the information. It's not privileged. See, I could find CEBL information way faster than sports youth information.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and that's the thing that adds to what one of your earlier questions, right? If the NC2A were to spill over here, you'd have a lot more kids going Division I, low to high major, right? And you'd have a lot more kids in the draft.
Yeah.
we had
You know
7
what I mean?
kids go from sports youth to D1 this year.
There you go, right?
The
So-
highest number, right?
And that's without the media backing,
Nope.
financial backing, and without the culture that they have over there down south.
Yeah.
So if you were to bring it here with the amount of kids that are playing basketball, more kids in Division I sports, more kids entering the draft, like we would completely leapfrog what we have going. How many people is in the NBA right now? Like 27,
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
right? Just imagine how that would grow if we had. It's all culture. It's all culture. We just, like Shane said, we just don't have. We're behind. in
Yeah, we're
terms
not
of the
there yet.
culture.
And the culture will pick up overnight
It
because
would,
there's
yeah.
so many people who've gone to those universities.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
waiting
Tons of alumni.
for this all to happen,
Yeah.
that they can pump in back into the sport.
Who would you say would be a high major team off the bat, just judging on programs?
Oh, like from here?
right now?
Carleton?
Right now, yeah.
Carleton,
Traditionally called
probably Ottawa.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the only ones I can think of right now. But
Who's good this year?
I mean, I visited St. FX, St. Francis Xavier in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, 2 weeks ago with my daughter, and it felt like I was on a Division I campus.
Nice.
Like
Yeah.
the facilities were unreal. I watched a women's game and a men's game back to back, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and the game was sold out, and the environment was crazy. Like, it felt like I was, back at Loyola. And my daughter, who's she's at King's Christian, Michaela, she looked at me and said, "Is this what all schools are like in Canada?" I was like, "No, this one is a little bit different."
Yeah.
The schools in the western part of Canada are a little bit different as well because they're a little bit more spread out, and there's no pro sports in those cities or in those provinces.
Okay.
So St. FX is treated like the Raptors
Yep.
on the East Coast in Nova Scotia. So all their games, hockey, basketball, football, sold out. So I would say like UBC, Carleton, like you said, maybe even University of Toronto because it's just right. It's right downtown.
Yeah.
Population.
Gold
all
Wing's a
that.
beautiful place to play.
Windsor's nice too. I just went to Windsor University.
Yeah,
Chang
they
has
got a
that
nice
place.
facility now.
Nice
man.
facility over there. All the facilities are nice. Windsor's nice.
And they're right there beside the border,
Right
right?
there.
So that's easy.
Yeah.
right
Michigan State is a
Mhm.
rivalry
Mhm.
right away.
there. Yeah, we went to our event and 3 or 4 coaches was at our games. It was more than probably any other event we've gone to. What was in the proximity of a 4-hour drive, right? So
And just imagine the environment because you see Jurassic Park, like for the Raptors game, we started that trend. Now everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But when we get behind a sports team, like Canadians,
It's
different.
It's a wrap.
mhm.
Yeah.
right? It's different.
Yeah, for sure. I mean that pretty much does it. I mean, it was a great conversation. Before we go though, there is one last question, Coach Mack. You've been on the podcast before, so you've already given us an extensive answer for this one. But in your guys' opinion, I'm not even gonna say the 2 names we used to say, but in your opinion, who's the greatest player to ever lace him up of all time?
Michael Jordan. Is that a serious question?
It's a serious question.
Oh.
Yeah. We just want to know where everybody stands. You know,
Yeah, I got Mike, man. I'm going with MJ.
Any particular reason that stands out? One reason.
Well, I mean, skill wise, it's always going to be tight when you look at the very, very, very top. But what pushes it over for me is the competitiveness, the ability to come out on top every time they needed him to bring it. He brought it. Just the killer instinct, like all those little things, right? Like for me, there was nothing like Mike. You know what I mean? And then obviously, you take the global impact, all that stuff. Like, that he changed the game. Like, and you can't like the ground that he broke, you can't re-break. Like he already broke it. You know what I mean? So for me, it's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan was a big impact. I wasn't a Bulls fan because I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. So I'm going to automatically say Isaiah Thomas, right, as one of the greatest point guards. But really and truly, Michael, Magic, Bird, those guys changed the game. Like Magic and Bird, I don't know how they end up at L.A. and Boston, right? If you go back and look at the history, and Bird going Indiana, then transferring to Indiana State, and end up going to the finals and being the 7th pick. I don't know how that all adds up, but as you see, that Luka just got traded to Lakers. So, so the L.A. and Boston thing is real. But Michael's the most impactful guy, right? Shaq too. Shaq was very impactful, right? His personality, you still see him on TV, right? I thought Shaq does a lot for the game. And then you got to respect LeBron because they kind of put him in the forefront at 18 years old. A lot of kids were full at 18, man. And he kind of took that on, right? They gave him the candles like early, right? So you got to look at him, and he's still playing, right? Yeah. He probably doesn't have the accolades like Jordan, but he's still playing and performing at a high level, being a great example to the young people, taking care of their bodies. So you got to look at all that stuff too, right? So, but Mike is the GOAT. Mike's the GOAT at the end of the day.
Yeah, for me, it's no question. He's in a class of his own. He's what inspired me to play the game. I wore 23 my whole life. Kobe, all of what he's done, or what he did was based off of what Michael did. He walked like him, tried to talk like him, everything.
Turn around, fade away.
And then you got LeBron, who wears his number 2 as well, right? So the guys who are in the conversation, they all were inspired by Mike. And I think just his competitiveness, and he's a winner. The big talk, last weekend, with the Chiefs trying to three-peat. Sorry, Chiefs fans, but they're I'm a Ravens guy, so we deserve to be in that game. That's for sure. We'll be there next year. But it's hard to three-peat in a professional sport, and he did it twice. And if he didn't leave for baseball, to be honest, I think he would have won 8, 9 in a row.
Yeah, he
was just rolling. He had that thing rolling. So there's no question. And globally, of course, the impact he had, and sneaker sales, and he started all that stuff, right? And it's trending now, but Michael Jordan, no question.
That's dope. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you all. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for pulling up and joining us over here. I'd like to thank all our viewers, our listeners as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, and keep up with us. Catch us on the next one. Boom. Yes, sir.